Welcome to Spotlight. I'm Sue Rakowski, and with me is Andrew Kercher. He's the Community Engagement Manager with the Port Huron Museums. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me.
And the first thing we might hit on as I look at your brochure here is we still have free admission. Tell me about that.
Free admission. So we are moving into our shoulder season. So a lot of people know that the museum world can be kind of seasonal, especially in Port Huron. The kids go back to school.
Sure.
So our satellite sites, that's the Fort Gratiot Light Station, the Thomas Edison Depot, and the Huron Lightship, all kind of dial back the hours a little
Sure.
bit to weekends. The Carnegie Center, we take Mondays and Tuesdays off. That's when we actually get a lot of our projects done. There's lots of sawing and moving of big things around, so we need a couple days. But
Sure.
the free admission didn't end at the end of our main season. That's going to go
Wonderful.
through all the way through right now. April 1st is when it started, so it goes to April 1st of next year. And there's some talks, we don't know, I can't, it's all above my pay grade, but that maybe that'll continue, and we don't exactly know how our next year is going to work. But
Has that really boosted your admission?
it was a tremendous experience this
Okay.
year. We had places like the Huron Lightship that normally sees about 5,000 people in a year. They saw like 25,000
Oh my
people this year.
goodness,
So
that
we're
is
talking
huge.
hundreds of percent increase, which really shows there is a pent-up demand. It's something that we strive to be as accessible as possible, but the museums, of course, are a 501c3 nonprofit. So at the end of the day, we also do have staff and have some costs
Sure.
that we need to raise that money somehow. So admission is traditionally a way museums work, but we were so grateful to have this opportunity from the grants and sponsorships we got to be able to offer our sites up with that free admission this year. And I think it really proved that there is a pent-up demand for this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about a tour you have coming up. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so we're always trying out new things. That was another thing that was kind of fun this year, is we're really back into the swing of things. We're trying out old favorite tours, but then also some new things. One that I'm really excited about is a Storm of 1913 tour. Now,
Okay.
the Storm of 1913, if you've never heard of it, you could probably be forgiven. But if you're local, it's something you should, stick around. You should learn a little bit about, because this is really our story to tell. This is the largest recorded storm in the history of the Great Lakes.
Wow.
So in November of 1913, there was a storm that came down from Canada, one that was coming up from the south. They kind of met and converged over lower Lake Huron. And believe it or not, the conditions, we would consider it a hurricane.
Wow.
It can happen. We think about hurricanes in the Gulf or the
Sure.
Atlantic, or even typhoons in the Pacific. But the Great Lakes are truly great enough that that same kind of condition, albeit very rarely, can happen. It's one of those pieces of history. I'd love to have a time machine. There's lots of history I'd love to see. No, thank you. I would take a pass. I hope we never have to relive
Unfortunately,
a storm like that.
many lives lost.
Yeah, hundreds of lives lost, dozens of ships sank or grounded, ran ashore. The lighthouse nearly toppled over.
Be darned.
It was, and like I said, we were the epicenter, right here over Port
Okay.
Huron. And this wasn't one of those pleasant Florida hurricanes that takes place in August. It was a hurricane in Michigan in November. So they
Wow.
call it the White Hurricane. Snow, ice, horrible conditions. And this is a tour all about how this was, in this case, literally and metaphorically, the perfect storm. All of these things that came together to make this a powerful storm. It was right before radios were really on board vessels. We talk a little bit about how the Weather Service was predicting weather, and they did a daily prediction at like 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Well, this storm fell nice and neatly right between those. So
goodness.
it doesn't even show up on weather maps.
When is this?
So this is November 18th.
Okay.
This is at 5:30, so it's right after work. It'll be pretty dark, so we've got some candle light. It's kind of like a candlelight tour
Okay.
of the grounds of the light station. We'll be inside some of the buildings.
Neat.
It's great. We always visit the lighthouse, and most people visit it during the day, but
Sure.
obviously a lighthouse is doing its work
At night.
At night.
Yeah.
That's when it's really
Well, it
useful.
sounds like a lot of fun, and you always have a lot going. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more with Andrew about the exciting things happening at the Port Huron Museums. Stay tuned.
Women's Life Insurance Society is a different kind of insurance provider. It's the life insurance you need to protect your family's financial security with the added benefit of helping those in need in your community. Choose planning ahead and giving back. Choose Women's Life.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm continuing my discussion with Andrew. We're talking about all things Port Huron Museum. What can you kind of tease that might be coming up a little later in this fall and winter?
So one of the things that people are always asking about, our trolley is incredibly popular. You know,
Yes.
we have added we've doubled the number of trolley tours for like our Murder and Mayhem tour around Halloween. They all sold out months ago. It's one of those things I feel bad when people are calling and asking. I have to tell them there's only so many seats, only so many hours in the day. It's full. So we are getting ready. It's maybe a little early to think about. I know a lot of people, we're filming this, it's still well before Halloween.
Right.
But we're already thinking about Christmas.
Sure.
We're already
Gotta
thinking
plan.
about these holiday tours. We're going to do some Christmas light tours that are very popular. They also sell out every year. I'm planning on, because, you know, I'm always embarrassed to say this, but I'm not actually a big fan of Christmas. Christmas is not my favorite holiday.
Fair
and
enough.
I feel like I take flack when you mention that. But I get called a Grinch,
Yeah,
but
my husband, I can relate.
I don't get as much into the Christmas spirit as others. So, but one of the things I decided to do this year is we're going to offer a couple of trolley tours that I'm calling Grinch trolley tours. They're going to be our Murder and Mayhem tour, which is so popular, and usually we think about that being Halloween. We're going to do a couple in December, because I know I'm not the only one who maybe, you know, gets a little strychnine sweet of the candy canes and wants something a little different.
Okay.
So these trolley tours, we're going to be, you know, putting those tickets on sale online. That's one of the best ways for people to find out about our tours is to follow our Facebook page.
Okay.
They follow our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Sign up for our email list or our website, porthuronmuseums.org. They can find out about all of these events. And like I said, the tickets sell quick. So I always tell people, I've had to turn my own family away and said, sorry. It's sold out.
So stay tuned to the Port Huron Facebook and all those social medias for all kinds of information.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thanks for all the great things you do for the museum and the community.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for watching this edition of Spotlight.